We've spoken of ascending that mountain, and now we're going to speak of the transfiguration. And when we behold the glory of God and how holy He is, all we can do is praise Him. All we can do is sing, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I invite you to all worship with us this last song.
Hallelujah, So today is the second to last Sunday, which means next week is our official last Sunday, so thank you all for coming. First announcement, but Priya's Bible study, the last Grace Unraveled, is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And next Sunday there's going to be a group picture for everyone who is in the Bible study here at church, after church, next service. The CSA Kids Christmas Carnival is next Sunday, and there's volunteers that we need, so if you want to help out and volunteer, please see Naza, who is over there. Yeah, Naza. See her. She's going to be popular this morning, so a couple of things go through her. The next thing is Operation Grenada Child. We're partnering with them to collect school supplies, children's books, clothing, small toys, things like that. New items are preferred, but if you can't get to the store, If you can't get to the store or go shopping, then we are accepting cash donations, which can go through either an e-board member or again through NASA. And tomorrow night is the prayer meeting. Woo! Yes. And so that is here in Pat Adams from 7 to 8 p.m. So come out, pray with us. We're going to bolster the campus up in prayer, and it's going to be a great way to end the semester. There is no Alpha tonight, so don't go. The final Alpha is next Sunday, so go to that one, because it's the last one. And I think that is all the announcements, so now I'm going to welcome up Praise to do the message this morning.
Nope. Okay. Good morning, CSA. Good morning. Okay, kind of nervous right now. Like he said, my name is Praise. I'm a term 4 med. And thank you. So I've been wanting to do a message for a while, but I just wasn't sure on what yet. And it wasn't until this past summer where I felt the Lord put this message on my heart. So, little backstory. I was born and raised in the church. I'm Nigerian, so if you're Nigerian, you kind of know who that is. So I grew up, I knew who God was, but I didn't know him for myself. I didn't know him personally. And I kind of had a little rough childhood growing up. My parents got divorced when I was 10. And throughout my life, I kind of had somewhat of a void when it came to having like a heaven or an earthly father. And so that was an issue for me. And then growing up, finances were always a problem. So it's kind of been a growing season recently for me and my family. So over the past 5 years, we've had a couple of deaths in the family, and this past summer, kind of almost lost everything. And so it's been a very trying time. But I'd say me and my family, we've had a couple of thorns in our side for a while that kind of, they were kind of like a constant reminder of the things we didn't have. So as of now, it kind of seems kind of normal. You know, when trials come, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of expected. But in that summer, we've grown so much closer to the Lord. We realized our focus was on what we didn't have and what we could do about it. And our eyes weren't focused on the Lord. And we thought our help was coming from man, until man failed us, and then we realized that God had to be the center of our home. So through that, we learned, we knew, came to realize for us it was easier to trust man than it was to trust God. So like I said, this past summer, we were kind of faced with the inevitable. We had a lot of hard decisions to make, and we realized that there was no one else that we could look to but God. And things didn't get easier, but we now knew where our help came from, and that's where we put our focus and our energy. So through that, there was peace, there was understanding, there was humility, and there was growth. And we found that being in such a dark place made God's love feel so much more sweet and powerful to us. So I'm going to go ahead and pray before we start. So if you bow your heads with me. Father God, I just thank you for this morning. Lord, I just pray that you speak through me. Let it be your words that everyone hears and not my own. I pray, Father God, that you just speak to everyone individually, Lord, and may your presence be made known this morning. And may everyone leave changed. We pray for every distraction, every worry, every fear to just disappear, Lord. May our hearts be tethered to yours this morning, and have your way in us, Father God. In Jesus' mighty name. Okay, so we'll be in Genesis this morning, so if you can turn to Genesis 25. So I have 3 main points this morning. But the first one, we see the beauty of brokenness when we stop fighting God. So I titled this message Beauty and Brokenness because I feel like over the past couple of years I've grown to love being in a place of being humbled by the Lord, because it serves as a constant reminder that it's not in my strength, that it's in His strength. So first point, we see the beauty and brokenness when we stop fighting God. I've grown to learn that no one wants to admit defeat, and it's easier to pretend like we've got it all together instead of admitting to ourselves that we can't control everything. We as humans, we have a problem with self-dependence, and we want to be the ones to solve the problem. So we'll be talking about Jacob and Esau today. So Genesis 25, 27 through 34. So quick synopsis, Jacob and Esau were twins born to Rebekah. And since birth, Jacob was on the heels of Esau, literally and metaphorically. So Jacob took Esau's birthright. So the boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he is also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear it to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. An important part of that passage is not only did Jacob take Esau's birthright, but Esau was very willing to give it up. He didn't see the importance of his birthright, and he took this special blessing that God had for him for granted. So then Jacob took Esau's blessing. So Genesis 27, 19 through 45. So Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord your God gave you success," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he proceeded to bless him. "Are you really my son, Esau?" he asked. "I am," he replied. Then he said, "My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and the earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I am your son," he answered, "your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked, Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near, and I will kill my brother Jacob." When Rebekah was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, Your brother Esau is planning to avenge himself by killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back there. Why should I lose both of you in one day? So kind of a long passage, but I read the whole thing in entirety to show the importance and the impact of just how special Isaac's blessing was. Esau said that this was the second time Jacob had taken advantage of him. So now he's starting to realize all of these blessings that I have on my life are being stripped away from me by someone that I love. And now Jacob is in a place where he knows his brother's angry at him, and he knows that what he's doing is deceitful, but he wants to be blessed, right? So now we meet Jacob, and he's married, and he has 2 wives, and he's returning back to Canaan in obedience to God. He's fleeing from his uncle Laban. And he hears that Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men, and he gets scared, so he wants the Lord to deliver him from his brother. So verse 32, 17 through 21 says, "He instructed the one in the lead, when my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Who do you belong to, and where are you going, and who owns all these animals in front of you?' Then you are to say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us.' He also instructed the second, the third, and all the others who followed the herds. You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And be sure to say, 'Your servant Jacob is coming behind us.' For he thought, 'I will pacify him with gifts I am sending on ahead. Later, when I see him, perhaps he will receive me.' So Jacob's gifts went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp." So again, we see Jacob in a place of he wants something. He wants something done in his favor, so he tries to pacify to his brother. He says, "Go to Esau and say, 'These are from your servant Jacob,' even though his father gave him the blessing, saying that Esau would be his servant." So later on we see Jacob, and he's wrestling with God, and tells him that he won't let go until the Lord blesses him. So verse 22 through 26 reads, "That night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and the man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, 'Let me go, for it is daybreak.' But Jacob replied, 'I will not let you go unless you bless me.'" So sometimes what we have in mind of how we want God to solve our problems is not always how it's done. Instead of wiping away Jacob's issues and fleeing and making him, delivering him from his brother, in some people's eyes, the Lord actually gives Jacob another problem. He breaks his hip and literally leaves him broken. So the Lord's like, "All right, Jacob, here's your blessing. But why is it a blessing? What good could come from leaving him crippled?" And that's the whole point. God allows us to get to a point where we're completely dependent on him. He helps us by breaking us out of our inherent self-dependence so that we can lean on him. And in that way, we can properly receive his blessing. So that leads me to my second point. Your brokenness leads to humility, and humility leads to blessings. So Jacob, his whole life, wanted to be blessed and have exactly what he wanted. He deceived his brother. Now he's trying to pacify to his brother so that he's not angry at him. He wants the Lord to deliver him. But when it came time for the Lord to, when it came time for him to request from the Lord to deliver him from the hands of Esau, his request was denied. And the Lord left him in a place of humility. Now Jacob knew his only hope would come from God and not himself. There's nothing he could do in his power to get what he wanted. And the funny thing is, God could have easily overtaken Jacob when wrestling. Jacob maybe even thought that he had a chance of winning one over on the Lord. But what a humbling feeling it is to be proved wrong by the Lord, to think that we have any power to override his will. I think the Lord let the struggle go on for as long as it did to show Jacob that when you face the Lord head on, you leave a changed person. So if you go to chapter 32, 27 to 30. So the man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." So, verse 28, where it says, "Then the man said, 'Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome.'" It really stuck out to me because it made me realize that when we do face the Lord head on, and when we do let the Lord take the reins in our life, we do leave changed people. His whole name was changed. And from that we'll see that the majority of his children become the founders of the tribes of Israel. So now Jacob has the blessing of his father, he has the blessing of the Lord, and still, he's in a place of, I need to get out of this situation. So now, if we go to the third point, our love and view for God grows when we are broken. So I mentioned before that Jacob might have thought that he could get his way when it came to God. But the Lord soon showed him that he was the one with the power. And sometimes we forget just how big, and quite frankly, how big our God is, and quite frankly, who he is in our life and the power that he holds in our life. He's the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, and the one who has given us breath and continues to wake us up every morning. So why is it that we take him and his blessings for granted? I think until we've reached a place of being broken, until we've reached a breaking point, it's so easy to make God small in our heads. And then we soon learn that obedience is not an option. It's our only reasonable course of action. Because when we aren't obedient, we find ourselves in a place of discomfort. There's no joy in the things that we thought would bring us joy. It's not until we're truly broken down that we can really see just how great our God is and just how much we need him. So we can see finally how pure and righteous his love is for us. So if you go to chapter 33, 1 through 4. Jacob looked up and saw, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and their children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And this is such a perfect depiction of how the Lord is towards us. Though Esau was rightfully so could have been angry with Jacob, he met him with love. He met him with open arms. That only highlights and shows the love that God has for us. And I feel like this verse mirrors the parable of the prodigal son, of the son who takes his inheritance and leaves, squanders it all, and thinks this is going to bring him happiness. And once he reaches his breaking point, he comes home, and his father opens him as well with open arms. So a couple things to remember. Why is it important to experience a place of brokenness? So I feel like when you're in a place where you're fully dependent on the Lord, it only highlights his goodness. It highlights his promises, and it highlights his word. So when you're broken, God's intervention moves in such a way that it's very hard not to attribute it to him. That also means that when you're weak, the devil knows that it's an opportune time to strike. So in our weakness, we need to be in a place of prayer so that we hear God's voice and not the enemy. Because once you start to believe the lies and entertain things that aren't pleasing to God, you tend to lose sight of his promise, of his word, and of his goodness. So there's a couple verses that I have that I feel like spoke to me and just helped me in this season. Of remembering the goodness of the Lord and knowing that though you may go through trials, he uses them for your good. So Psalm 34, 17 through 20 says, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. He protects all his bones. Not one of them will be broken." And Psalm 119:71 says, "It was good for me to be afflicted so that I might learn your decrees." Romans 8:18 says, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." So a couple personal things that I've learned from this past season in my life, and being in a place of dependence on the Lord. Like I said, when I feel like in this place, the Lord's goodness feels so much more sweeter to me. His presence and his power were all that more greater to me. And I've learned that when I lean into the times of my weakness and I embrace him, I know that breakthrough's coming on the other side. And I've learned that I can't do this on my own. And I have found that times when I'm my weakest, the only thing that I can do is turn to God. So I know probably a lot of people in here have found themselves in a place where they just feel defeated, where they're tired, and they feel like they want to do what they can in order to make themselves feel better. But the Lord has a really good way of humbling us, and he knows everyone's weaknesses, and he knows just exactly how to reach every single one of us. So this morning I encourage you to, when you are weak, just to lean into that and to know that the Lord sees and his heart goes out to you, and the Spirit cries on your behalf. So if the worship team could come back up. So thank you guys for letting me talk this morning. It was kind of quick, but another thing. Before I came up here, I had a lot of anxiety, but another thing that the Lord has been teaching me is that obedience is not easy. And so I just want to encourage everyone for the rest of the term to just continue to lean in into the Spirit, and don't get discouraged, but you're almost there. You'll be almost there. So, thank you.
to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring, but I know here in the middle is a place where you promised to be. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want, it's all you are. Will you meet me here again? As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear. Like the sun shaping the shadows, in my weakness your glory appears. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here? all you are. Will you meet me here again? I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? For a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place.
We glorify your name here this morning, Lord. We thank you that you are the Alpha, you are the Omega, you are the beginning and the end. And no matter what our situation, Lord, your timing is the best timing. Your timing is the only timing, Lord. We thank you that even when we fall, that you pick us up, Lord. And I pray as we go into these last 2-3 weeks of term, Lord, that we continue to glorify your name, whatever situation we may be in. Lord, your name is greater than all other names. We praise you and we glorify you here, Lord. Today, tomorrow, and forevermore. In Jesus' name we all say, amen. Have an amazing week, CSA. And you are dismissed.
Don't cry on me. Don't cry on me.